Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. James. Good morning.
Okay, so I think we're all ready for the chapter 3 summary. So we will go through this summary and learn all the key concepts in this chapter, and then we'll be ready for the test. Alright, for this chapter, make sure you can, number 1, draw angle in standard position. And then determine the quadrant it belongs. So for every triangle, you need to figure out where is it. It could be positive, like going like this, for example. It could be a positive angle, right? It could be a negative angle. But the positive negative is just to help you determine where is it, which quadrant. After that, it doesn't matter if it's positive negative, it's at that quadrant. Number 2, you want to be able to find the coterminal angle, coterminal angles, and determine the principal angle. If I give you angle 1000, for example, well, where is 1000? You can keep adding 360 or take away 360 to find out the answer. So I'll take away 360. 360 degree is a full circle. So all this angle I'm writing down here is divided by 360, and then they are all coterminal angle. So you can keep going, it never ends. So all these are coterminal angles, and which one is the principal one? The smallest positive one, this one, is the principal angle. And this one is in quadrant 4, and all the other angles here are all in quadrant 4, and they are coterminal angles. Generally, you have a form for coterminal angle which is written this way: theta plus or minus 360 degree n, where n is integer. So this means given an angle theta, you just keep adding 360 or take away 360, you have all the other coterminal angles. The third concept we have is this one: a new way to understand cosine theta and sine theta, which is they are coordinates on the unit circle. Unit circle means r equal to 1. Only on the unit circle, all its coordinates is cosine theta, sine theta. So let me draw you a diagram. So let's say I have a unit circle, and then I have an angle here. Well, angle refers to angle in standard position, so which is here. So given this angle, what is this coordinate? According to this knowledge, we know this property. This point has coordinate cosine theta, sine theta. Theta refers to this angle here. How about tangent theta? Okay, tangent theta we know is sine theta over cosine theta. So if you look here, it's y over x. Y over x is slope, if you remember slope formula. So tangent theta is the slope of this terminal arm. So this is a new concept. Okay, tangent theta is the slope of this terminal arm. Next, you need to memorize the table for special angle. Remember that table? Right? On top you write 0 degree, 30 degree, 45 degree, 60 degree, 90 degree. On the side you write sine, cosine, tangent. And then you fill in all the numbers, all the special ratio. 0, 1/2, root 2 over 2, root 3 over 2, and 1. Okay, and then you probably know how to fill up the entire table. Once you have the table in front of you, you can use it to determine the exact value of the special angle. Using reference angle and add sugar to coffee. Add sugar to coffee. For example, if I ask you, what is cosine 210 degree? So the first thing you need to do is find out where's the angle and then find out the reference angle. So for cosine 210, you first draw it, is over here. So it's in quadrant 3. Quadrant 3. So what's the reference angle? It is 30 degrees away from the x-axis. So reference angle is 30 degrees. And then you add sugar to coffee. In the third quadrant, only tangent is positive. Well, this is cosine, so it's negative. So this will equal to negative cosine 30 degrees. Any angle that share the same reference angle have the same ratio. This is positive. Since this should be negative, so you put a negative in front. And finally, you refer to your table. Cosine 30 is root 3 over 2. So the answer is negative root 3 over 2. So for all of this step, you don't need a calculator. And you cannot use a calculator. Because when you put this in the calculator, you won't get exact value. You will get a decimal place, decimal answer. Alright. Determine angle in standard position from the reference angle and vice versa. So, if I give you a reference angle, ask you what's the angle. So this is my table. I ask you what is the angle. I give you reference angle. If that's the case, in the first quadrant, it's the same one. In the second quadrant, I give you the reference angle. So therefore, to find out the angle, you take 180 minus the reference angle. In the third quadrant, 180 plus reference angle. In the last quadrant, 360 minus the reference angle. For example, I say reference angle is 30. I want it in the third quadrant. So you put 30 in the third quadrant. 30 plus 180 is 210. Now, vice versa. Ask you for the reference angle, given the angle. In the first quadrant, the angle is the reference angle. Let's say 40 degree is 40 degree. In the second quadrant, let's say it's 120. So what you do is you take 180 minus the angle. Then it will give you the reference angle. In the third quadrant, you will take the angle minus 180. Okay, and finally, you take 360 minus the angle. So these two tables are the same except in the third quadrant. Okay. Alright, next point. You should know the definition for sine, cosine, tangent. Sine is SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA, so that's SOHCAHTOA. And then now this year we put it in a triangle. R is the hypotenuse, X is the adjacent, opposite is Y. So we just map it to the coordinates. Alright, lesson 4, I think. We have application of all the concept above here. So we say there are 3 types of question. The first one is, given the coordinates, you can find the trig ratio. Second one, you're given one trig ratio, you can find out the others. And number 3, to solve a trig equation. Okay? And then you have 2 solutions in grade 11. So the first one is like this. I won't do an example. I'll just give you a drawing. Let's say you're giving a point P. What you need to do is draw it from the origin, make a triangle, and then you can figure out the side. Alright? Put the coordinates there. Let's say the coordinate is 3, 4. Then you put 3, 4 here. And then you can figure out all the trig ratio using SOHCAHTOA. The second type of question is similarly, right? They give you one ratio. Let's say they give you sine, and then you will draw a triangle. You can figure out all the other ratio. Okay. So given one ratio, you need to figure out which quadrant the triangle is located. Let's say it's in quadrant 3, right? So again, you make one, and then you find out the side, put the number in the right position, use Pythagorean theorem to find out the third one, and then you can figure out all the other ratio.
Yay.
Now, third type of question, you will have 2 solutions. Whenever sine is less than 1, let's say sine equal to negative 0.5, right? This is called absolute value, this 2 straight line, which means you ignore the sign. If the value is less than 1, as in this case, for example, you always have 2 solutions. How come? Because sine negative, you have solution here and there. Sine negative 5, you look at your special angle, the reference angle is 30. So therefore your answer, put 30 in those 2 quadrants. Sine x, okay, x is 210 and 310, 330 for example. You have 2 answers. Now what it says here is you only have one solution if your trig ratio is equal to plus or minus 1. That's the boundary case. If you look at sine, it's equal to 1 and 90 degrees. So you only have one answer, which is 90 degrees. Okay. Finally, it's impossible for any sine ratio to be bigger than 1. So if your question says sine x equal to 1.2, you know there will be no solution. Put in a calculator, it will say undefined. Okay. Alright, now we're moving to the last few lessons. First, you need to know this notation. When you see a square there, it's not a mistake. It means you square the ratio. Now, in the last 3 lessons, we learned about sine law, cosine law. The formula will be given. Like for example, this one, all this formula will be given. All you need to know is apply it to different form. You ask, when do we use cosine law? You use cosine law when you have S, 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 and SAS. When 3 sides are given, let's say like 3, 4, 6, right? When you're given 3 sides, you use cosine law to find out the angle. When you're given side angle side, let's say 4 and then 50 degree and then 6, right? It's always look like this. Then you can use cosine law to find out the third side here. And once you find the side, you can find out the other angle using sine law. Okay. Finally, the ambiguous case. We have ambiguous case when we have S1, when we have SSA. Okay. So the example we have is like this. Okay, SSA. So when you given an angle, I would like to put it there. Let's say 40, and you given one side. Let's say put a 6 here. All right, and then you given the other side, which is opposite to A. Only that situation we call it SSA. And if that side given is less than this length here, so let's say this is 6, and then I give you 5 here, then you will have an ambiguous case. If this side is longer, let's say 7, then you can't fit it inside. You can only create one triangle. Then you don't have the ambiguous case. So for the SSA, you just use sine law to solve the angle. If you know this is the ambiguous case, once you find out the first answer, you just put that in the second quadrant, because for sine, you have 2 answers, first and second quadrant. So if you know, the calculator will only give you answer in the first quadrant. If you know you have ambiguous case, just put that in the second quadrant. 180 minus the angle, you have the second answer. Alright, so that's a summary for this chapter. Okay, there's some exercise here for you to try, and I'll post the answer on Google Classroom so you can check it. So good luck study, and I hope you do well in the upcoming unit test. Bye everyone!